Hi, this is Thierry Samlal from PMML. Today I'm presenting to you the multifamily market statistics for the province of Quebec for April 2022. So we still have very good transactional volume in the province of Quebec, even with the interest rate hikes. So we're April 2022. In the greater area of Montreal, we've transacted, in total, the market has transacted around $322 million worth of volume. If you're comparing that to March, we had exceptional volume in the greater area of Montreal. We had $490 million worth of transactions. In that pot, we had certain transactions of very, very high price and volume. For example, we had transactions of a building that sold over $740,000 per door, which is exceptional. We also had a transaction that took place at over $340,000 per door, and that came and influenced our price for the month of March at $490 million. February 2022 in volume in the greater area of Montreal, we were at $280 million. And in January, we hiked up $564 million. So if you're averaging that out, we're at about $400 million per month, which makes a lot of sense and shows that the volume of transactions which were closed since the beginning of the year, first quarter, is very strong and still is maintained into April, which shows that even with a hike of interest rates, we're still able to maintain the market for the moment in the greater area of Montreal. Montreal itself, we're gravitating around $222 million for April. The previous month in March, we had $377 million, but don't forget that we had two very important transactions in there that really increased the volume. February was lower at $142 million, and Montreal in January was at $194 million. So still a nice standard we're maintaining all the way through. Quebec City is at $46 million this month. Gatineau, a increase of over 100% in volume at $100 million, and I'll explain why, because there's a major transaction that took place in Gatineau. And that's definitely going to set the tone for the next few months in that area for newer build. City of Sherbrooke, $13 million, which is more or less the standard in Sherbrooke. Sherbrooke is like Gatineau, so we're developing a lot of multifamily in those areas. In Sherbrooke and Gatineau, there's a lot of permits for construction that have been given out for multifamily. So those two areas are definitely to be looked at in the next few months. I was considering that the transactional volume might be lower in those areas, but when you're looking at the land is being sold and basically we're converting those pieces of land and building multifamily assets on them, well, in the next few months and the next few years, you're going to see the transactional volume increase when those new build are going to be sold back on the market, say in 4 or 5 years, maybe even before, if there's contractors that are looking to sell the portfolios once they're built. So, interesting market. We're still maintaining the transactional volumes. We're seeing that there's a little decrease in the number of buyers on the market and the number of sellers on the market. But at the same time, we're seeing that a lot of people that we contacted in the previous years are now calling us back to sell their assets. So very interesting market. And it will be interesting to see what's going to happen in May and June also. Now, if we go region by region, I would like to talk to you about the different main transactions to give you a good idea what's going on. In the greater area of Montreal, there's 5 transactions that really are interesting, I find. One in Ville-Saint-Laurent, which is more like center-west of Montreal, a transaction of an asset of close to 300 doors that went for a little over $175,000 per door, which is interesting. 5-story asset, concrete, interior garages. So that sets the tone for that area. The western part of Montreal, if we're going into Pierrefonds, we had a transaction of a little more than 160 doors that went for close to $160,000 per door. Once again, we have transportation in that area. It's close to the REM station, western part of Montreal. Not that many assets that were built in that area. A lot of condominium that are newly built. So the investors like to buy in those areas also when there's transportation next by. So very interesting transaction. Downtown Montreal, Le Plateau, for those who know it, right on the La Fontaine Park, an asset, concrete, several stories high, one of the highest assets in that area. Went for close to $180,000 per door. That asset, very interesting. The owners had done some refurb of some units. Definitely capacity to do renovations in many units, a high potential of increase in rents. Units of small sizes in square footage, but definitely because of the location of the asset, right in front of the La Fontaine Park with the view on downtown Montreal and on the park, directly on the plateau, easy biking into Montreal, easy walking distance to Montreal, downtown. Makes it that the potential in rents is very, very high on that asset. And that went in the month of April for close to $18 million, more than 18 and a half actually. Downtown Montreal on Guy Street, an asset of close to 100 doors went for $255,000 per door. Once again, concrete asset, very well located, downtown core. Makes it logical for that transaction to go in that price range and that volume. And finally, an asset on the mountain itself, so a little further away from Montreal, but a prize, a AAA asset. Always large requests in that area when a building goes up for sale on the mountain itself. Usually it goes for a high price, and this one went for more than $310,000 per door. So all that to say that the Montreal market is maintaining even with the hikes in interest rates, which shows that more than likely the buyers are looking at the capacity to increase the rents over time and to add prize assets into their portfolios on the long run to be able to capitalize and have assets which are based on location, transportation, proximity, and hikes of potential hikes in the rents. So Montreal market is maintaining. If we're going to the national capital, which is Quebec City, most of the transactions were in the 16 to 24 door range, all ranging mostly between $70,000 to $105,000 per door, with one asset that went close to $175,000 per door, a newer asset. So once again, there we're showing that the Quebec market is maintaining in mostly all of its areas. The price range is being maintained. Of course, the cap rates of these assets are still very competitive, still very low, so showing that there's a lot of capacity to increase the rents and for optimization, probably on a 5 to 10 year basis. Now, this is what I'm telling all of my buyers. You have to start looking at assets on the 10-year, with a 10-year exit plan, instead of having a 5-year exit plan, which is way too short for the 2022 market. Let's go to Gatineau, the Ottawa region, but on the French side, and I would like to talk to you about a major transaction that took place at close to $88,000 per door. $88 million in total, between $325,000 to $345,000 per door. And that sets the tone for the area, because Gatineau, there's some assets that have been sold recently of multifamily new build property, but not that much. A lot of land was sold lately in Gatineau, and that land is being developed, and then we're building a multifamily on that land and then reselling it, and that's what's happening right now. So these assets were built a few years ago in the Agora Lifestyle Center, which is basically a commercial district based on lifestyle with office space in the center of it, and around that you have a park, you have some condominiums, but a lot of multifamily with indoor garages, common barbecue areas on top of the building, balconies, close to transportation to go right into Ottawa. So a very interesting asset, very looked for, a little bit like the 1030 district in Brossard, for those who know it, with public transportation nearby. So we repurchased this from the builder, and the idea was to be able to benefit from the increase of potential rents over time, having a new build asset really close to a lifestyle center and really close to services. So interesting asset. Another building close by went for about $225,000 per door, which is close to a 25-plex. So they built a lot of these buildings over time in that area, probably about 10 of those, and now they're being resold at a very short distance from the downtown core that I just explained, the Agora, but still sold at a very interesting price of $225,000 per door. So definitely potential for selling at a higher price in that area. Other transactions that took place, one in Gatineau at $334,000 per door. So we're seeing that we're setting the pace now for newer build in that area, and that the price range does resemble other urban areas in the province of Quebec. So we're maintaining our market even with the hikes in interest rates. If we're going to Three Rivers where there was a lot of smaller assets that were built over time between like 5, 6, 7, 8 plexes, and some assets over 25, 30 doors, but not that many. And if I'm looking at my chart here, I'm seeing most of the assets sold between 7 doors and 16 doors with very, very low prices. In Three Rivers, there's a lot of optimizers that are going there to try to buy buildings at a very low price, give the value add necessary by just doing the major aesthetics and putting back the building to the minor, with the minimum norms that need to be, and reselling those buildings at twice the price. So often you're going to see assets that are bought at $400,000 and resold for $800,000 in the same area after a year. So a lot of optimizers leaving Montreal, leaving Quebec City, doing the 1 hour and 15, 1 hour and a half drive into Three Rivers, finding local entrepreneurs to put back the assets up to par, negotiating with the tenants, increasing the rents, etc. So what we were seeing in Montreal before, which was much more easier for the smaller assets in Quebec City, now we're seeing in Three Rivers. So a lot of convergence of the smaller investors going into the Three Rivers. So I would say in the next few years we should see the price increase per door quite drastically in the Three Rivers. If we're going into Sherbrooke, we have some transactions ranging between $90,000 and $110,000 per door for existing assets. Once again, in those areas, we have to follow the market for new builds, which you're going to see coming back into the market maybe in 3 to 4 years from now. These buildings are being built right now and they're going back onto the market. So very interesting to see that even with the hike of interest rates, even with the hike of construction and renovation costs, that in April 2022, the Quebec multifamily market is being maintained price-wise, even with the hike of interest rates. So with these transactions computed now, we already have many transactions that were done with the corrected interest rates. So all of that is telling us that the reason why we're able to maintain our pricing is, first of all, because of the capacity to increase the rents in different areas, and also for the fact that we're starting to have a reduced number of a little bit less sellers on the market, a little bit less buyers coming back into the market, because a lot of people purchase at the beginning of the year, but still that level is being maintained across time. So normally, if everything continues in the same direction and we're able to correct the way we optimize assets in Quebec, for example, by putting less money per door invested into every refurb and not doing any major refurbs, but just doing aesthetics and offering the right renovation versus service mix to the future tenants, we should be able to still maintain our prices on the market. So it's going to be nice to see how the market is going to evolve in May and June 2022. If you have any questions, I remain available. Just contact me. If you're looking for assets for sale, for example, land, you could go on landdev.ai, which is our land dedicated site. Our GoPlex site is going to offer you buildings ranging from 2 doors to 12 doors. If you're looking for buildings above that in number of doors, you could go on pmml.ca. So have a great month of May, beginning of the hot season, and let me know if I could do anything to help you. Have a great day.